Good morning, my sweet friends. How is everyone today? I hope you are doing well. It is quite chilly and gloomy and rainy and all things yuck today here. But I am happy to be here with you. I will be quite completely honest with you. I struggled so badly about whether or not I would be live today. So I'm asking you to specifically pray for me. I am navigating through so much right now and just trying to keep things in perspective, just trying to stay focused best that I can. And but I really wanted to share something with you today, something that has been a part of me and something that I've just recently broke free from. And I pray that today's Tea-votion will be nothing short of a blessing to you and maybe offer clarity to you in maybe areas of your life that you need some direction in, or maybe a little encouragement in. So maybe this can be your soft nudge today of something that God's dealing with you on. But I want to get right to it, but also to thank you all for all of your continued prayer coverage for myself, for my family, for my son, as we still absolutely covet those prayers. But we all know we have those times in our lives that have left a lasting mark on our very soul. Experiences that left us marred and changed in ways that we probably never thought possible. And if left undealt with, or if we choose to even ignore the pain or consequences of those experiences, pushing them to the very deep, dark corners of our hearts, we could very easily live a life of unrest, one of untruth, holding on to things we thought were truth, and allow bitterness to take up residence in places that only truth, love, peace, hope, and joy should reside. It could affect every aspect of our rational thought process. And I want to give a side note real quick right here about forgiving others. This is not so much for that individual, but it is for yourself. I have spoken many times about forgiveness and such on Tea-votions, but I just want to make this particular thing clear, that you do this for your own peace and healing without having to stay in a dangerous or traumatic, controlling situation. So please understand my heart today and where I'm coming from with this particular testimony. I understand every situation is different and we must deal with those with God giving us the lead on those. But this is in forgiveness in general. Like I said before, this is not for that individual. It's for your own peace and for you to be able to further your walk with God. So please understand. The Bible warns against becoming bitter from believing a lie, often using the phrase root of bitterness in Hebrews 12:15, which describes how holding on to a falsehood and the resulting hurt, it can poison your heart and even prevent spiritual growth. It encourages forgiveness and letting go of grievances to avoid bitterness. I'm telling you folks, unforgiveness and bitterness is a destroyer like no other. Bitterness is a destructive emotion that can fester within a person, damaging relationships and hindering spiritual progress. Today I'm going to be very transparent with the life situation that I have had. So please extend grace, if you will. When I open up and let you into different parts of my past life, it's very difficult for me. But if I don't share, and then maybe you will not ever understand some of the other thoughts that I bring to you, because I want you to understand that I've had life happen to me. So about 15 years ago, I had a very detrimental situation that completely altered my life. It left such painful scars etched into my heart and truthfully marred me and my thought processes beyond comprehension. You see, I went through a devastating divorce, one that destroyed a 23-year marriage. And during that time, I was made to believe some things as truth that were not. But at that time, and over the course of the last 15 years, it is what I believed, truly believed, and it ultimately planted some deep-seated roots of bitterness in me. So deep that those roots grew and spread like wildfire and began affecting every part of my life. Any and all friendships and relationships of any kind, especially my spiritual walk. These things have been affected. Over time, though, and through lots of prayer, I have forgiven some people who never even asked for forgiveness. But for the sake of my own peace in God, I had to forgive anyhow. Even in doing this, I kept feeling like things just weren't right within myself. My mind so often drifted to the words that were said to me, the words I believed for so long, the words that had caused me to develop such bitterness and even at one point a hatred in my spirit for an individual. How could someone that I had loved and respected so highly and even trusted as they were my spiritual leaders at that time really say those things that added to the destruction of my marriage, and yet they continued to live their lives totally unaffected by this? So it seemed. Remember, I was told a falsehood and I believed the lie. I became not only bitter, but so confused. And from then on, I questioned everyone in my path. I trusted no one. I still have issues to this day, but God is being my helper with that, especially those who were in godly leadership. I know. I've even spoken about getting rid of bitterness and how destructive it can be right here on these Tea-votion. So how could I have let this awful thing control me for so long, you ask? I don't know. Truly, I really don't know. But I did, and it had. I only continued to push it further into the cracks and crevices of my heart, just hoping maybe it would just go away, just dissipate. At the beginning of each new year, I don't set resolutions or pick a word of the year, etc. I think I may have mentioned this before. However, I do pray, and I ask God to reveal to me areas of my life that need a fine-tuning, or that He would bring to my mind things that I needed to change or activate in my life. Usually whenever I have my prayer time, I'm very open and sensitive to God and what He may instruct me to do, not just at New Year's. This is how I operate. This is how I get in tune with God, to hear His voice, to hear His instruction for me. However, there has been so many changes happening over the last few years with my family, within me, and this time I was a little more specific with my request to God. I've been hitting a brick wall, if you will, in my ministry, in my thought processes, in my own personal life. I've been giving in to bouts of depression and defeat, which are all from the enemy. I understand that. I knew something must be hindering me from moving forward in all things God has for me, and I needed to know what it was. So I began to petition the Lord at the beginning of the year. And as I began to pray and ask the Lord to please reveal to me whatever it is that I needed to do, I did the usual navigating through with giving Him thanks, giving Him praise for all He's done for me and my family. prayed all the usual stuff that we usually drag into the throne room with us, laying it all at his feet. But when I really began to get into the deeper communion with God, he began to reveal to me a very unpleasant and undealt with situation that I needed to deal with face to face, so that he could heal me and I could break those chains of deceptive bitterness that had paralyzed me, causing it to be impossible for me to move forward in my walk with him. Really, God? This is what you want me to do? This is a 15-year-old stronghold that has had me paralyzed, that has had me in control. If I deal with this now, I could be made to look like a fool. Those involved in this may not even allow me to speak to my heart to them, or they may not even remember this incident. Here I went again, questioning God's instruction and allowing my delusional mindset to take over, because that's what I was used to doing. So I prayed on it for about a month, and I finally spoke to my husband about it. He agreed that I needed to follow God's leading on this so that I could break free of this stronghold that was literally killing me. And if left unforgiven, it could cost me my salvation. Now that's a real eye-opener. That's a real realization. People don't really think about that sometimes. But if you allow unforgiveness and bitterness to take control in your life and in your heart, you're messing with your salvation. You're messing with your opportunity for your straight line to eternity with God. I reached out to see if I could meet up with these individuals and to have an opportunity to share my heart. That was one of the hardest messages that I had typed out and sent. And you better believe the devil was right there and ever so quick to start speaking even more lies to me. They're not going to give you the time of day. You are nothing in their books. They have long forgotten you. They don't love you. They don't care. After all, they were part in the destruction of your marriage. These were the lies being thrown at me even then. A few days actually passed before I finally got a response. No drift on them, not knocking that. They're very busy people doing the kingdom work. But here's what I want you all to know. I'll spare all the private details, but here's what I want you all to know. I asked God to reveal to me. He did. I reached out. They responded. I humbled myself and had a very deep conversation with intended parties, told of my plight and the heavy, ugly burden I had carried, and confessed that I had allowed deep roots of bitterness to take control. All of this was based off of misinformation, really bold-faced lies that had been told to me regarding these individuals that I had believed as truth. At that time, I was so broken and vulnerable, and the enemy used that as a gateway straight into my spirit and in my heart. So after sharing my heart with them, and I asked for forgiveness for what I held in my heart against them for so long, they then assured me that they loved me. They always thought highly of me, and that what all was indeed false information they had never said, nor would they have ever said those things under any circumstances, especially those. On that day, a huge barrier broke in me, my friends. I began to weep like I have not been able to for a very long time. And reconciliation took place between them and me, and words of wisdom and prophecy came forth during us praying, or really them praying for me at the end of that conversation. Such love and forgiveness, grace, and a peace swept over me. A reconnection of a once deep friendship was now being healed. I know none of this may make much sense to you, but if only you knew the severity and the danger of me holding on to this type of bitterness for this long, all based on a lie straight from the enemy. And as far as the party that told the information, I had already forgiven them, although they probably will never ask for my forgiveness. Why? Because that's a situation that would be more traumatic than healing if dealt with face to face. So knowing these situations, I know I just had to forgive and release them. They're in God's hands now. God can deal with them, but I'm free of that. I hold no grudge. I hold no animosity. I hold no hatred, no bitterness towards that individual. But where my unforgiveness and my bitterness lied for 15 years is now cleared up and taken care of. So why am I sharing all of this with you? I had let this pain and bitterness become a part of me in such a way that it defined me, quite literally defined me. It became my overall negative mindset on just about everything. It hindered me from trusting in godly leadership and even friendships. It forever changed me on many levels and not to the good. So today, my friends, if I could tell you anything, and this is our subject title, if I could tell you anything to save you the time and the lessons in this life, I would tell you, never let anything that happens to you turn you bitter. Don't let the pain of something that was out of your hands turn you cold. Stay soft. As hard as that is sometimes, try. Try with all of your heart to stay tender and pliable in God's hands. I know there's a lot of things that hurt, take us to our knees, and threaten our hearts with a stone-cold grudge. Let it go. You can't change it, but you can choose not to let it change you. Don't let the pain define you. You are bigger than that. I hope you know. You are never how someone makes you feel. You are never someone's negative opinion of you. Let it hurt, because it will, but then let it heal. But don't linger there. Don't linger there so that those roots of bitterness can take root, because they will grow so rapidly fast. Remember who you are and whose you are, and rise above it. And above all, if you can talk about it and work through it, do so by all means, as to not let those roots of hatred and bitterness take control. So what does the Bible say about all of this? You know I'm going to come at you with scripture on everything. The Bible says that if you have something against your brother, you should reconcile with him before offering a gift to God. The Bible also says that you should address issues directly with the person involved, and that the goal is to restore the relationship. Again, I'm not naive to think that all situations can be dealt with in this manner. I am well aware of that. I have situations in my own life that I could never, in the physical realm, address them face to face. It would not be safe for me. It would not be, it would be very detrimental. However, I have forgiven without them asking for forgiveness. Matthew 5:23-24 states this: if you remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift at the altar and go away. First be reconciled with your brother, then come and offer your gift. And vice versa. If you have something in your heart against someone, it's the same principle. Broken relationships can hinder our relationship with God ultimately. If we have a grievance, misunderstanding, or problem with someone, especially a friend, we should try to resolve it as soon as possible so there's no room for roots to start growing. Our attitudes towards others reflect our relationship with God. 1 John 4:20. And this passage is an entire message all its own for another time. Colossians 3:13 states, "Bear with each other and forgive any complaint you may have against someone else. Forgive as the Lord forgave you." The key to forgiving others is remembering how much God has forgiven you. Is it difficult for you to forgive someone who has wronged you a little when God has forgiven of so much? Realizing God's infinite love and forgiveness can help you love and forgive others. So let me just tell you, the morning after all of this was resolved, I awoke with the realization that I no longer was carrying the heavy weight of this awful burden that I had carried for the last 15 years. My friends, that's a long time to carry something so ugly, all that baggage. But that morning I had such peace and lightheartedness that overcame me. So much wasted time and energy and very unnecessary heartache I had been carrying, but now it's gone. So again, if I could tell you anything, my friends, don't allow circumstances and the pain that it caused to grow roots of bitterness, nor let it define you. Forgive. If restitution and reconciliation can be made, do so. Then heal and let it go. Thank you for allowing me to share my heart today. I know sometimes there's a lot of gray matter. It's hard to read between the lines, but for the sake of other people's privacy, I can't give all the details. Just know that this has been a huge factor of defeat in my life, a huge factor of bitterness and ugly, ugly burden that I am now free of. So I want you to do some praying. I want you to do some deep digging in your own spirit and heart and see if there's anything in there that could possibly be hindering you from furthering your walk with God. You need to get it out, my friend. We don't have time to waste. We don't have time to waste. Be free of it and let God complete a work in you. Be healed of it. Let it go. I love you all. Thank you for joining me today, and thank you for your patience with me in my absenteeism. God bless you all, and I hope to see you again next week. Love you dearly.